After a devastating fire destroyed his carpentry shop, Mr. Thompson, a widower, faced ruin but chose to sell the charred land to fund his twin daughters' education. His wife, Elizabeth, had passed away during childbirth, leaving him to raise Sophie and Emma alone. When the girls turned 5, he remarried, but his new wife, Laura, despised the twins, calling them bastards, leading to a bitter divorce. From that moment, Mr. Thompson vowed never to marry again. The community mocked him, calling him reckless. Selling your last asset to educate girls? They'll marry and leave you with nothing, they said. But Mr. Thompson, driven by a promise to Elizabeth, stood firm. Years later, his daughters returned, not just to visit, but to repay every sacrifice he made. The air in Mercy Hospital was thick with excitement until the beeping monitors slowed. Elizabeth's last cry faded, and silence swallowed the room. Outside, Mr. Thompson paced the corridor, building toy planes in his mind for the son he expected. Then the doctor arrived, hat in hand. "Your wife is gone, but your daughters are alive." 2 nurses placed tiny babies in his shaking arms. Perfect, identical twin girls. A sob escaped his throat. "Elizabeth, you promised we would name him Daniel if he was a boy." His tears hit the blankets. He kissed each forehead and whispered, "Sophie, Emma, I will take care of you girls myself." Grief and wonder wrestled inside him, but the vow was made. With no mother and no extended family, just the memory of his late mother buried 3 months earlier, Mr. Thompson carried the newborns into a night that felt endless. At home, bills and funeral plans lay scattered across the kitchen table like broken promises. Dawn arrived before sleep did. The babies wailed, hungry, and he panicked at the empty tins of formula. Scrambling through Willow Creek with the twins tucked under his coat, Thompson met Mrs. Nora, a midwife who collected donor milk from nursing mothers. She pressed 2 bottles into his palms and said, "They are everybody's children now." Her kindness stunned him. Humanity still had light. In that fragile dawn, Thompson found enough hope to keep breathing. He rocked the babies, humming the lullaby Elizabeth loved. The house felt colder, but the twins' small breaths warmed his chest. Over the next weeks, he stitched diapers from old bedsheets, boiled water in rusty pots, and learned to swaddle by trial and error. Neighbors peeked over the fence, whispering that a carpenter could not raise infants alone. He ignored them, fixing a mobile above the crib made from scrap wood and string. When exhaustion threatened, the vow echoed, "I will take care of you." By the first monthly checkup, the twins were gaining weight. Nurses marveled. Townspeople stopped predicting disaster. Yet loneliness crept in every night. Thompson stood at the bedroom doorway, watching the girls sleep, whispering stories about their mother. The woman who loved mango pie, laughed louder than church bells, and died so they might live. He prayed that one day they would understand the depth of that sacrifice. For now, all he could offer was steady hands and a father's stubborn heart. And so, before the twins even learned to smile, the legend of a carpenter who refused to fail his daughters began to grow quietly, one sleepless night at a time. 3 months later, Sophie discovered her thumb, and Emma mastered the art of shrieking whenever her sister got attention. Mr. Thompson juggled feedings with odd jobs, carving headboards while rocking a cradle with his foot. One afternoon, sawdust flying, he fainted from sheer fatigue. When he opened his eyes, the village chief's wife was wagging a finger. "You need help, man. Pride will bury you faster than grief." She arranged a schedule. 4 women would rotate visits, washing clothes, bringing soup, and teaching him the secrets of colic cries and nappy rashes. Thompson protested but soon surrendered to their practical love. Mrs. Nora arrived every evening with fresh bottles of donor milk. Elizabeth saved many mothers when she taught them to read, she reminded him. Her words soothed his guilt for accepting charity. He kept meticulous notes on feeding times and volumes, determined to raise strong, healthy girls. The twins grew into chubby toddlers, turning the rented shed into a playground. Wooden shavings became confetti in their hair. Sophie's first word was plain, Emma's was papa. Each milestone fueled Thompson's resolve to give them opportunities he never had, especially education.
Hello. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. If you enjoy story like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's dive into the story.
Community gossip, however, took a new turn. A man cannot live without a wife, elders insisted. Children need a mother's hand. Suitors for Thompson appeared at market stalls, subtle as rainclouds, praising his skills and hinting at lonely evenings. He smiled politely, heart closed. At night, he conversed with Elizabeth's portrait, confessing fears. Am I enough for them? They deserve more than carved toys. But the picture only glowed under candlelight, silent approval in her painted eyes. One Sunday after church, Pastor James gave a sermon on companionship. Under its weight, Thompson felt the pew splinter beneath him, though it did not. The congregation's stares lingered as he ushered the twins outside. Later, rocking them to sleep, he asked aloud, "Should I dare let someone else in?" The question hovered, unanswered, drifting through the open window like the smell of fresh cedar. In those quiet months, father and daughters formed a fortress of three. Outsiders saw chaos, sawdust trails, nappies drying by the stove, incomplete client orders, but inside beat a rhythm of laughter and lullabies, a melody strong enough to silence town gossip, at least for a while. When the twins turned 5, school fees loomed. Thompson's odd jobs were modest. Desks and cabinets paid bills but left little extra. After one especially lean quarter, he thought of remarrying, not for love but for partnership. Then he met Laura, soft-spoken, recently widowed, admired for her cooking. She praised Thompson's furniture, doted on the twins during brief visits, and promised to treat them like her own. Her gentle smile chipped away at his hesitation. The wedding was simple. Vows beneath a mango tree, choir songs drifting across the yard. The twins twirled in yellow dresses, excited at gaining a mama. For 6 sweet months, the house smelled of fresh bread, and bedtime included stories in 2 voices. Thompson dared to believe fate had granted them a second chance at family. Reality struck on a humid Thursday. Thompson returned from a repair job late, sweat glued to his shirt, hearing screams. He bolted inside. Laura towered over the twins, brandishing a wooden spoon, welts already forming on tiny arms. "Bastard twins," she spat. "You spilled palm oil on my new wrapper." Emma cowered. Sophie shielded her sister. Something primal ignited in Thompson. He stepped between them, voice shaking but low. "Touch them again, and you will answer to me in God." Laura's face twisted in disdain. "You think anyone else will want a man cursed with motherless girls?" She packed her belongings before dawn and slammed the gate behind her. Neighbors whispered about the failed marriage while Thompson rocked the twins, who whimpered in their sleep. Shame burned, but rage burned hotter. At sunrise, he knelt by their beds. "Never again will I gamble with your safety. You are my everything." The vow renewed, ironclad. School resumed. Laura's memory faded like chalk in rain. Thompson cooked uneven pancakes, braided hair with crooked parts, and forgot picture day forms, but the twins laughed through it. They invented a secret handshake, 3 claps and a nose tap, signifying unbreakable unity. If loneliness pricked him at night, he buried it, sanding planks until dawn to make bookshelf orders. Each finished piece financed spelling bee entry fees and class excursions. Village council members shook their heads. Who sells his heart for daughters? Sons would carry his name. Thompson responded with more shelves, more laughter echoing from the wooden shed. In that defiance, the twins learned their first lesson. Family is the people who choose you every single day. Primary school raced by in a blur of chalk dust and lunchbox swaps. Sophie loved science charts. Emma tinkered with broken radios, claiming she could make them sing again. Thompson's pride swelled each time report cards arrived. Yet he noticed the mounting fees for junior high, textbooks, uniforms, lab contributions. Income from odd jobs plateaued while timber prices rose. He tightened his belt, skipped dinners, and accepted night commissions, shaping office desks under weak kerosene light. One rainy afternoon, a businessman entered the shed and admired a mahogany cradle Thompson was restoring for a client. "Your craftsmanship is wasted here," he said. "Open a showroom in Oakville." Thompson smiled but shook his head. The city was a luxury he could not afford. His dreams wore school uniforms, not suits. Without warning, government inspectors arrived, citing new permits and safety upgrades for his work. Compliance would cost more than a year's profit. Thompson pleaded for time but received a closure notice. That night, he spread the document on the dinner table. The twins, now 13, watched him bury his face in calloused hands. Emma reached across, whispering, "Papa, we will be okay." They scavenged discarded wood to build birdhouses, selling them at Sunday markets. Sophie painted bright wings. Emma engineered swiveling bases. Customers loved the novelty, but earnings barely dented tuition. Thompson pondered selling the land from his burned shop, his last asset. The idea felt like selling a limb, yet the future demanded sacrifice. He visited the land registry with a pounding heart and returned with a for sale sign. Gossip exploded. "Foolish man, girls will marry and leave. Invest in sons." The twins heard every sneer but stayed silent, adding extra color to birdhouses, turning pain into art. 3 months later, a buyer offered enough to cover high school fees and a modest living allowance. Thompson signed, keys trembling in his grip. On moving day, the twins pressed their palms on dusty walls, thanking the shed for feeding them all those years. Thompson locked the door one last time, tears falling onto the iron padlock. He walked away carrying only a toolbox, identical hands holding each daughter's behind them. The wooden sign creaked in the wind, whispering a farewell no one else could hear. Relocation was inevitable. They rented 2 small rooms behind Oakville's central library, close to the twins' new secondary school. Thompson searched for work, but carpentry vacancies were scarce. One custodian posting caught his eye. Library cleaner needed, pay modest, hours dawn to noon. He applied, explaining his woodworking history. The head librarian, Mrs. Carter, examined his scarred palms, then smiled. "Anyone who respects wood will respect books. The job is yours." Each morning before sunrise, Thompson swept marble corridors, polished reading tables, and oiled creaky hinges. As the sun rose, he inhaled the scent of paper and ink, a different forest than the one he once carved. He pocketed torn pages to patch at home, muttering, "No story deserves the dustbin." The twins often joined after class, finishing homework between shelves while their father mopped. Librarians adored them and slipped extra textbooks into their backpacks despite tight budgets. Family evenings brimmed with laughter. They shared one bowl of jollof rice, told riddles, and studied under a single bulb. Emma dissected broken alarm clocks. Sophie traced flight paths on world maps salvaged from library archives. Thompson watched, marveling at how hunger for knowledge overshadowed hunger for food. The city, however, bore sharper tongues. Market women scoffed when Thompson bargained over bruised tomatoes. "Where is your wife?" they demanded. Taxi drivers joked that he should loan out the twins for bride price advances. Each insult chipped at him, but he stored the pieces, intending to build something better later. One weekend, the school announced a field trip to the regional airport, the fee unattainable. Thompson considered pawn shops. Hearing his sigh, Sophie urged, "Papa, don't. We'll write essays instead." But Mrs. Carter intervened, sponsoring them quietly. When the twins stepped onto the tarmac and watched planes thunder overhead, destiny roared to life. Sophie felt her pulse sync with jet engines. Emma studied wing flaps, eyes gleaming with equations. They returned home breathless, declaring careers in aviation. Thompson nodded, fear and pride intertwining. "Then we will target the sky," he said, knowing the ground beneath him was already cracked. Senior year tuition nearly broke them. Thompson patched school shoes with leftover leather, mended uniforms until seams groaned, and accepted extra cleaning shifts, scrubbing graffiti from stairwells at midnight. The twins volunteered at church bake sales, saving coins in a biscuit tin labeled Sky Fund. By graduation week, admission letters arrived. Sophie, BSc. Aviation at Horizon Air Academy. Emma, BSc. Mechanical Engineering, Avionics, at Pinnacle University. Tuition figures turned excitement into quiet panic. They explored scholarships. Competition was fierce. One required an essay titled, "Why My Background Fuels My Dreams." Sophie wrote about losing a mother she never met, finding fathers in library shelves, and dreaming in engine thrusts. Emma described birdhouses and broken radios turning into lessons on lift and torque. Their raw honesty secured partial grants, still insufficient. One dawn, Thompson stood outside their rented rooms, staring at his toolbox, the last relic of his craft. He took it to a pawn shop. The clerk examined each chisel, offered a humiliating price. Thompson accepted, tears masked by sawdust on his cheeks. That evening, he laid cash before the twins. "University will happen," he declared. They wept, not from joy, but from the weight of his sacrifice. Community mockery escalated. Former neighbors sent letters. "A man without assets is no man." Thompson burned them. He now cleaned office buildings on weekends, accompanied by the twins, who wiped windows for pocket money. Strangers assumed they were his employees. He introduced them proudly as future pilots and engineers. Some laughed, others gifted them bus fare. By September, they scraped together first semester fees. On move-in day, Thompson borrowed a wheelbarrow to transport 2 suitcases and a stack of second-hand textbooks across campus lawns. Students in flashy cars stared, the twins waved. Before leaving, he knelt, public display be damned, and prayed over them, asking God to swap his strength for their success. The dormitory elevator doors closed, taking his daughters upward while he remained on ground level. Walking home, he felt both emptied and full. The city lights blurred, and for the first time since Elizabeth's death, Thompson allowed himself to imagine a future where grief was not the headline but the footnote. University life was dazzling and brutal. Sophie battled advanced physics. Emma waded through calculus and machine design. Many classmates arrived in chauffeur-driven vehicles. The twins rode packed buses at dawn, balancing notes on their laps. At night, they cleaned part-time at a cafeteria, pouring leftover soup into thermos flasks for their father. Thompson, now 48, felt muscles protest each mop stroke, yet he refused rest, timing his breaks to call the twins and recite motivational quotes scribbled on napkins. "Pressure turns rough stones into smooth ones," he'd say. They repeated the phrase before exams. Mid-semester, Emma's laptop crashed, deleting a crucial assignment. Replacement was impossible. She borrowed lab computers at odd hours until security guards complained. Sophie stayed awake, solving practice problems by flashlight so her sister could use their shared desk. Exhaustion knocked at their room like an unwelcome tutor, but they kept the door shut. During a campus symposium, Sophie impressed a visiting pilot with her questions about cockpit ergonomics. He offered mentorship and access to flight simulators. Meanwhile, Emma won a design contest by proposing adjustable winglets for small aircraft. The prize money covered next month's rent. They phoned their father, voices trembling with relief. Thompson danced alone in the library corridor, Broom as a partner, tears streaking his smile. "God hears persistent knocks," he whispered. But hardships persisted. Thompson slipped on wet marble, spraining his back. Sick leave meant lost wages. Bedridden for a week, he worried about rent. The twins pulled cafeteria tips and walked dogs for affluent lecturers, sending funds home. Struggle rotated like clock gears but never stopped the machine entirely. By semester's end, both girls ranked top 5 in their cohorts. Dean's lists went up, and whispers shifted from disdain to admiration. They returned to their tiny rooms, high-fiving over bowls of instant noodles. Outside, fireworks crackled for University Founders' Day, but inside, 3 hearts celebrated a quieter triumph, faith proving stronger than circumstance. The second year opened with promise until Thompson received an eviction notice. Rent had jumped beyond his cleaner salary. He stored belongings in borrowed church space and slept on a library storeroom mat. When the twins visited on break, he fabricated stories about upgrading the apartment. They sensed the lie but respected his pride. One evening, exhaustion caused him to nod off with the floor buffer still humming. The machine jerked, slamming into shelves. Books toppled like dominoes. A priceless first edition landed in dirty water. Mrs. Carter gasped. "Thompson, your health is failing." Facing termination, he confessed everything. Instead of firing him, she arranged a fundraiser, citing his decades of service. Professors donated. Alumni mailed checks. Within weeks, funds covered his medical bills and secured a bedsitter near campus. Thompson protested, but Mrs. Carter insisted, "You mended our books. Let us mend your life." During recovery, he audited free evening classes on computer-aided drafting, claiming, "Old dogs learn new tricks." The twins cheered him on. Sophie supervised his physical therapy regimen via video calls, while Emma emailed ergonomic chair designs to prevent future injury. Their bond grew thicker than misfortune. At the year's close, the aviation school announced a competitive internship program with Blue Horizon Airlines. Only 2 slots existed. Sophie submitted an application, heart and throat, competing against peers with family ties in the industry. On selection day, she spotted her name on the notice board, ranked first. She collapsed into Emma's arms, crying, "Papa's mop bought me wings." Meanwhile, Emma secured a summer placement at Sky Tech Manufacturing. She designed a prototype avionics bracket, sturdy yet lightweight, impressing supervisors. They extended her internship indefinitely with a modest stipend. She sent half of it to Thompson, who used it to buy health insurance for the first time in years. At night, Thompson journaled gratitude for spilled milk that led to donor mothers, for ruined cradles that birthed birdhouses, for sleeping on storeroom floors that made strangers generous. He finally saw the pattern. Pain carving space for blessing, one splinter at a time. The third year blurred into final dissertations, simulator hours, and sleepless design sprints. The twins shared a mantra: one more step. When anxiety struck, they called home to hear Thompson's steady baritone recite Psalm chapter 23. He, in turn, leaned on library colleagues who kept an eye on his diet and forced him to rest. A month before final exams, Thompson felt a familiar tightening in his chest while polishing oak banisters. Doctors confirmed mild hypertension. Medication added a new expense. Sophie threatened to drop a class and work extra shifts. He forbade it. Emma offered to sell her phone. He vetoed that too. They compromised by sending him weekly meal prep containers. Their instrument flight check ride, logging flawless takeoff and landing. Emma unveiled her capstone project, an AI-assisted diagnostics module for cockpit systems. Judges awarded highest honors. Word spread quickly, the twins of the cleaner who sold everything. Media requested interviews. They declined, citing exams, but the legend grew. Back at the library, staff planned a surprise retirement party. Thompson's contract was ending with fiscal restructuring. He accepted the news gently. Seasons change. Unknown to him, Mrs. Carter circulated his resume to furniture boutiques in the city. Within days, Oakwood Gallery offered a consultant role designing custom pieces for luxury hotels, pay triple his cleaner salary. They valued not just his skills but his story. When he phoned the twins with the news, they screamed so loudly a dormitory alarm went off. 3 victories in 1 week felt surreal. Sophie clapped her hands, chanting, "Papa's back in business." Emma calculated how quickly they could clear his overdue utility bills, exactly 2 pay cycles. Exams concluded. Gowns were ordered. Thompson tailored his old Sunday suit, ironing it to near perfection. He bought a second-hand camera and learned basic photography on YouTube, determined to capture every moment himself. In his journal, he wrote, "Elizabeth, come see what your girls have become." Graduation day dawned bright as prophecy. Rows of caps shimmered under stadium lights. Thompson arrived early, claiming a front-row seat with the press of mentors and parents. When Sophie crossed the stage, he yelled, "That's my pilot," causing laughter in the stands. Emma followed, tassel swinging, and blew a kiss. Cameras flashed. Thompson tried to photograph, but tears blurred the viewfinder. Strangers snapped pictures for him instead. After the ceremony, the twins pulled him to the tarmac, where Blue Horizon Airlines had parked a training jet for demonstrations. Sophie, now officially a first officer trainee, invited him inside the cockpit. He traced switches like sacred relics. "I used to build toy planes from scrap," he whispered. She replied, "Your hands built this future too." Emma joined them, holding a gift. A miniature wooden plane carved from leftover mahogany, the first wood Thompson ever let her touch. "For your desk at Oakwood Gallery," she said. He cradled it as though it breathed. Media crews finally cornered the family for interviews. A reporter asked Thompson what kept him going. He answered simply, "A promise to their mother." The clip went viral, inspiring parents nationwide. Donations poured into a new scholarship fund the twins established for girls in STEM, named Elizabeth's Promise. That evening, they ate a cara and fried plantain at a roadside stall, preferring humble flavors to hotel banquets. Between bites, they planned next steps: Sophie's simulator sessions, Emma's engineering residency, and Thompson's first hotel lobby installation, a sculpted walnut reception desk. 3 paths, 1 heartbeat. Under streetlights, Thompson lifted his face to the sky. Planes roared overhead, their red beacons tracing arcs of destiny. For the first time in 21 years, he allowed himself to exhale fully. The vow had not only survived, it had taken flight. 6 months passed. Thompson's bespoke furniture designs graced hotel suites and corporate offices. He trained apprentices, sharing both carpentry techniques and life lessons about sacrifice. In evenings, he attended business courses, learning supply chain logistics. Education never ends, he told his apprentices, echoing advice once given to his daughters. Sophie advanced to co-piloting regional flights, collecting postcards from cities she once traced on faded maps. Each landing, she whispered, "Papa, we made it." Emma's diagnostics module secured a patent. SkyTech offered her a leadership role. She countered by requesting a research grant for eco-friendly systems. They agreed. The twins pooled savings and scouted real estate. One Saturday, they drove Thompson to a gated neighborhood outside Oakville. He assumed they were quoting furniture jobs. Instead, they stopped before a cream-colored mansion. "Welcome home, Papa," Emma announced. A gold plaque beside the door read, "Thompson House." Shock rendered him speechless. Inside, the living room displayed portraits of Elizabeth, the twins at every age, and a framed copy of his original carpentry license. Tears dripped onto polished marble. "I cannot accept such luxury," he rasped. Sophie countered, "You once slept on a storeroom floor so we could have textbooks. Accept this roof because we finally can." He surrendered, embracing them until laughter replaced sobs. They organized a housewarming feast, inviting librarians, donor mothers, apprentices, and even skeptics who once mocked him. Many apologized, some stayed silent, humbled by proof of a father's faith. Thompson raised a glass of malt, toasting Elizabeth and every unseen ally along the road. That night, standing on the balcony, he watched city lights flicker like votive candles. In the distance, an aircraft ascended, maybe Sophie piloting, maybe not. Regardless, the sky now felt personal, a diary written in contrails. With stability achieved, the twins turned outward. They pitched a bold idea to the municipal council: build a combined primary school and clinic in Willow Creek, where education and healthcare were scarce. Funding came from their salaries, Thompson's profits, and donations sparked by viral interviews. The council granted land. Construction began. Thompson oversaw site carpentry, designing desks wide enough for left-handed students, an often ignored detail. Sophie taught weekend aviation science workshops, letting children craft paper planes. Emma installed solar panels, explaining renewable energy in simple terms. Opening day attracted crowds. The building bore the name Elizabeth Memorial School and Health Center. A ribbon-cutting ceremony featured choir songs and a flyover by Blue Horizon Airlines in honor of Sophie. Children screamed with delight. Elders wept. Thompson delivered a speech. Once, people called investing in girls a waste. Today, girls are investing in everyone. Applause thundered. Newspaper headlines praised the twins, but they redirected credit to community donors and early helpers like Mrs. Nora and Mrs. Carter, each given honorary plaques. Humility, they believed, was the runway to sustained impact. In the following months, clinic nurses recorded dramatic drops in preventable diseases, and school enrollment doubled, especially among girls. Success stories spread. One child announced she would become a pilot doctor, inspired by both sisters. The vow's ripple now reached shores they would never see. Despite triumphs, old wounds resurfaced when Laura, the stepmother who left, appeared at Thompson's gallery, gaunt and desperate. Her second husband had squandered savings. She now sought employment. Staff bristled, but Thompson offered tea. Over steaming cups, she apologized for cruelty to the twins. I was drowning in my own bitterness, she confessed. Thompson felt anger stir but remembered sleepless nights carving forgiveness into wood. He provided a small consulting contract, ensuring she would report to HR, not him. That evening, he told the twins. Emma clenched her jaw. Sophie sighed, recalling Psalm chapter 23. They agreed mercy did not erase memory, but it freed the heart from chains. News of Thompson's gesture circulated, amplifying his legend. Critics claimed he was naive. Supporters hailed his grace. He ignored both labels, focusing on the next furniture commission. Yet in private, he wrestled with uneasy gratitude. Hard lessons often forged unbreakable bonds. Years rolled into a symphony of routine triumphs. Sophie achieved captain status, commanding international flights. Emma led a team developing lightweight composite fuselages, reducing fuel consumption by 15%. The joint foundation sponsored dozens of girls in STEM programs nationwide. One anniversary of Elizabeth's death, the family gathered at her grave. Thompson, now gray-haired but upright, placed cedar shavings shaped like wings on the headstone. The twins read letters to the mother they never met, describing first flights, prototypes, and the mansion's mango garden. Wind rustled leaves like applause. Afterward, they visited the donor milk center founded by Mrs. Nora, now expanded with capacity to serve multiple districts. A plaque listed initial donors, including mothers who once nourished the twins. Sophie addressed staff, "You saved our lives, drop by drop. Today, we fly because you believed." Nurses wiped tears, cameras clicked. Back home, the trio watched the sunset from the balcony. Thompson mused, "Life carved me into a better man than I ever planned." Emma leaned on his shoulder. "And carved us into women who carry your mark wherever we go." Stars emerged, the same ones Thompson once studied from a leaking roof. Now they glittered above a mansion, yet felt no less miraculous. The vow had outgrown its maker, shining light on countless paths. That was legacy. On the 20th birthday of Elizabeth Memorial School and Health Center, dignitaries gathered for an expansion unveiling. Thompson, 70 now, walked slowly but proudly, cane hand-carved by Emma. A choir of children sang a song titled, "A Father's Promise," lyrics written by Sophie during a transatlantic layover. As speeches ended, a young girl named Aisha tugged Thompson's sleeve. "Sir, I want to become an aerospace engineer and help Captain Sophie." Tears welled in his eyes. He knelt, despite creaking knees. "Aim higher than the clouds, my child." A photographer captured the moment. The image would later headline international magazines under the caption, "Faith in Flight." That evening, a private celebration filled the mansion. Apprentices, librarians, pilots, engineers, donor mothers, and former skeptics mingled. Thompson clinked a glass for silence, voice soft yet firm. "Love is the only investment that never depreciates. Thank you for proving it." The twins presented one final surprise, a documentary about their journey, scheduled to screen in schools worldwide. Thompson watched the trailer, montages of sawdust, library halls, runway lights, then stood, overwhelmed. "If this story teaches anything," he told the room, "it is that every child is a runway. Clear the debris, and they will take off." Later, alone on the balcony, he whispered to the stars, "Elizabeth, our girls fly higher than we ever dreamed." A distant jet glimmered. Perhaps it carried Sophie, perhaps not. Either way, its trail traced a shimmering signature across the sky, proof that vows kept with love can defy gravity forever.